All right, guys, welcome back. We are still here with Suzanne, whoop, whoop, and we are still talking about this school. Yeah, don't get bad, but this school journey. So much to discuss. Buckle up and let's get driving. Whoop.
So on top of the slow pace of learning, there's also things that we were doing when we were doing homeschooling. So because the curriculum is the same, you're going to teach children the same things. But after you've saved a lot of time in, keep quiet class.
Yeah.
You want to go and susu.
Okay, go.
You know, you've saved all that time. We were able to do certain things like baking class.
Baking class.
Household chores. Like we're able to also teach the children other things. So even if the school wants to teach morals and chores and what, they can't make the child mop the class. You're going to go and quarrel.
I know you say you're using my
yes, but me in my house, I'm like, okay, let's mop. They learn to wash dishes. You know, my daughter is like this casual, but she's up on the sink. Actually, we put her up on the real sink because my son is washing dishes. She's also there playing. Like they learn a lot more than just so. The joys of homeschooling way surpass the ones of public school.
But how do you ensure that they also get that chance to mingle with other people?
Oh, very easily. So there's train of thought, but then that's the one and only challenge with homeschooling that everyone sings about. But when they sing about it, they don't realize that there's many ways you can combat that challenge. One, if your child is older, like now my son is 6, going to 7. So we're doing a Monday to Friday program. However, every Monday and Wednesday, he's in a football club. So every Monday, he studies up to lunchtime. Then in the afternoon, he goes to the football club. He's interacting with random kids. Actually, this year, I changed him into a club where the kids speak only Luganda. He goes to the other club on Saturday, but then this club of only Uganda is on.
So what, he learns the language or what?
Yeah, so that he also sees the other side of life, right? It's like a village club. I tell you, he enjoys it more than our Uganda club, for real. It's a different experience, a different culture. But you see, I can enjoy that. I can decide to say, you know what? I'm changing this kid to this club so that he can also learn that, you know, that kind of lifestyle. You know, I can do that. If he was still in the mainstream, that class on Monday is up to 4, Tuesday up to. On Fridays they are there for sports. Why do they go there apart together? Apart, you know. Then you only have Saturday and Sunday
to try and put him in some other.
So now, because I know that the child is missing out on that level of interaction, I fit it in their program. After all, I'm saving a lot of time of go and susu, go and pupu. So in that time, I fit in my activities. So during the 5 days, which is Monday to Friday, Monday and Wednesday are football. It also helps me get my children to bond so well, so they're in the same football club. So my daughter, you'd be like, actually, Paul always tell me, football, what's Alona going to do? She's going with Javier, football, you know? So I get to make those decisions. They get to play these sports together. Whereas in school, Aviel is always frustrated. His sister goes to lunch without him. His sister, and you know how close they are, right? So then, when they went back home, he's like, but mommy, when I tried to go to Alona's class, they said I'm not allowed to go to the lower school. But she's my sister, not their sister. I'm like, yes, sweetie.
Point.
So there's all these things I'm able to fight. So socializing is like clubs, right? Now we're just putting them in a basketball club. I'm yet to see how the effects will be. But then there's those clubs you can do. My daughter wants ballet. The other day I was saying, how am I going to learn? Because they do everything together. Will the boy also do ballet?
Boys also do ballet.
Now. But anyways, the socializing is so easy to combat. When they were much younger, I also was, which I'm going to do again after COVID. So there's also homeschooling families, usually the expatriates in the country do homeschooling because they come to Uganda, they put the kids in the schools are not meeting their standards. So it's mainly the expatriates whose companies are paying their tuition, they put in the international schools. The ones who have to pay the kids' tuition themselves, most of them do the homeschooling. So then we have organizations, just if you go on another groups, if you go on Facebook or whatever and just join one of the groups in your area for homeschooling, we usually have programs where you say once a week the kids study together. So if this week is my week, all the kids in our group, if they're like 10 kids, 12 kids, all the kids in my group come to my home. And if I don't think I can manage to teach them, like, arithmetic or whatever, then I'll say, no, for me on my day, I want to teach cooking class or sports or art and crafts,
But now that you talk about other parents and things like that, so you've mentioned that homeschooling long before needed the mother to be home. And yes, you've talked about your situation where you had the luxury of working half day, So what about a mother who has a full-time job and maybe desires homeschool? Like, can they just bring the tutor and then they go away?
Exactly. It's what I'm carrying. That's why I said I did the homeschooling myself the first time. Right now, what I'm doing is I actually have a stay-at-home tutor. Before, I was doing it myself. And then during the COVID, I was doing it myself, but then because we were doing once a week in someone's home, it was okay, right? And then just before COVID, my kids were in regular school. Like I told you, I moved to the regular school. Now, when we were in Canada when COVID started in 2019, and COVID found us in Canada, but Uganda was still at large. That's our fair. So we came back quickly. But then we had already seen the impact it had. So we knew it was going to come to Uganda. So I feared to put my kids back in the school. The school I was in was really decent. Whenever we would travel, they'd give me work and then when I'm in Canada, I would still homeschool. And that was working out. So when I came back here, I decided to homeschool again. However, I had a lot of work that was keeping me really busy. So I got a teacher to actually come and do the teaching. But you see, still, I prefer that to the regular school because I get to choose the teacher, number one. She comes to my house. I have a place that's what we call a classroom. It's in my basement. She knows my morals. She knows my rules. She knows what is supposed to be done, what's not supposed to be done. She knows the language to use. She knows what my kids don't play with gadgets. She knows all those rules. They are my terms, not the school's terms, the admin's terms. So it's still my terms. The teacher just has to follow my terms. And then when COVID came in, I even got a stay-at-home teacher. Not anyone who comes and brings in that disease. So I got a stay-at-home.
First of all, where do you get those tutors? Someone may be wondering, how do I get that?
The same way the schools get teachers. People want jobs. So for me, in the beginning, I went to the Shimoni Teachers Training College when we had now come back in November 2019. And then the lady gave me a teacher who was really Katala, but she was affordable. She was 250,000 shillings a month. I was like, Wanji, please, But then you get what you pay for, right? Then I changed from that. The teacher, the pricing, basically just my price will range from the 250,000 shillings I've told you, all the way up to $1 million. Of course, I'm not down over $1 million, but there are teachers over $1 million. I even know a parent who has a teacher over $1 million shillings. But then for her, she has 4 kids. Surely that woman should be paid $1 million.
Okay, for all 4. Okay, so it's not per child.
It's not per child. Giving me my price is not per child. But then basically, just if you're looking for like an average teacher, you're looking at like 400, 500, 600,000 shillings. Depending on the extras you give them. They're not so difficult to get because people are looking for jobs. The difference between you and the school is that they get job security, which you can also provide. Then with the school, they're advancing because they're learning from fellow teachers. Then they have insurance, they have Manya Medical, they have blah, blah, blah. So what you do is you just package your own thing, your own offer, right? But there's many good teachers out there.
Okay,
who are looking for work.
Now that you talked about the teacher comes in, what are they exactly teaching? Can we talk about curriculum for a minute?
Okay.
Like, yes, they're coming, but social studies, do you give them since now you're homeschooling, do you give them the timetable? How does it work? How do you choose?
Again, that's based on what you want for your child. So people think that the internet is the only place to get curriculums. No, please. If you know that you don't intend for your children to leave this country, your children are going to go to secondary school in this country, please, by all means, get our Ugandan curriculum.
Okay, let's first pause there a bit. So it's important to understand, are my children ever going to go? What if you don't know now?
That's the thing. So sometimes you should dream big. So Like I told you, at the end of the day, everything results down to your family plans, your
values,
family values,
culture.
your family goals, right? If you don't know if a child is going to ever travel or not, there is nothing wrong with getting the Ugandan curriculum and you supplement it. Because by the way, these kids don't know that they learn different things. The international curriculum teaches about Mars and us we teach about Chengera. No. They teach the same things. International, yes, they are still going to teach you about the clouds, weather. It's the same things. In mathematics, you're still going to start with addition. From addition, you're going to go to subtraction. From there, you're going to go to multiplication. You're going to go to division. That doesn't change. International don't have another type of, I don't know what.
Or is it just the mode?
It's the method of imparting this information. So there's nothing wrong with blending. Because it's just the method in which they impart. Even in the international curriculums, there's different methods of imparting. I'll give you an example. We have the traditional homeschooling methods. Traditional homeschooling is exactly what they do in schools, only you're doing it in your home. That's the difference. And that's why you find that in Uganda, there's actually homeschooling schools, like the SCE schools. SCE is a homeschooling program. It's a homeschool
but now
program.
even they're in school.
But they're even in school. That's the traditional, that's an example of a traditional homeschool curriculum, where they do what they do in school, in real school. The only difference that here it's individualizing. So even if you look at the SCE schools, SCE curriculum is individual. That for me, as Suzanne, I'm struggling in mathematics and in addition, and I'm going to do addition for 3 weeks. Whereas Lisa has done it for 1 week, she moves on to the next pace. That's homeschooling. Homeschooling basically means you're individualizing. You're coming out of the Kayola and you're individualizing. The curriculum I'm doing is actually also a traditional curriculum that done before. I was doing a different one because of my kids' age and also how fast they were advancing. I'm now doing a traditional. It's called Abeka. It's a Christian-based curriculum.
Abeka.
Abeka. I love it. It's a Christian-based curriculum. And then for it, it's traditional, but then it also has things like videos, and we have video lessons, we have audio lessons. They use textbooks, they use art and craft, they use all these things. Yeah. So there's many ways, there's many methods. You choose a method which works for you. Light bulb moment with Lisa's friend. Did you know that peeing in the bathroom instead of the toilet will save you 2,500 liters a year? Now imagine if everyone peed in the bathroom instead of the toilet. How much water would we save? Hey! UN, give me my reward. I'm saving the environment. So traditional is basically the textbook things. You know, in normal school, you have textbooks, you study from them, you learn, you do tests, you do exams, you go to the next class. That's the traditional homeschooling method. We also have, there are many ways, there's then they call the unit method, where
unit.
Yeah, where you basically use themes. And modern schools today are also employing that, even the normal main school, where you say, this year where our theme is maybe Christmas. Maybe this month is December. We say our theme is Christmas. Everything you're going to study is going to be related to Christmas. So even if you're studying math.
Like in the example,
yes.
Diana went shopping for Christmas gifts and met Santa Claus. How many more Santa Claus bags?
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what.
That's a theme. That's a theme. But the person is learning math.
The person is learning math. Now, the unit method is good when you have children of different classes. Why? When you're learning, if you're using a theme, and the theme is Christmas, for example, it means that even the P3 child who is studying about sets is still using Christmas as a set. And then in literacy, you're studying about maybe weather. It's still the Christmas weather. Whereas the one in P3, what's Uganda's P? What's grade 3? I think grade 3 is the same as P3.
I don't know, me, I've not yet reached.
Okay, so the one who's in grade 3 is studying about weather, and they're going deeper into the clouds, maybe, you know. The theme is still Christmas. That's a unit method. That one is easy when you have different ages and you want to teach them at the same time because it's exhausting to come from so-and-so to so-and-so, right? So we've talked about traditional, also the classic method. Classical is where they use strictly verbal. They don't do, like I told you, Abeka, we do video. So we have we have CDs where the child sits in a classroom with other children. So you're at home, but in the video, the teacher is teaching you, you know? That one is easy for people who, like you said, you're busy and blah, blah, blah. You have a teacher. Teacher cannot be good in everything. Someone actually one time asked me, but a teacher can never be good in everything.
True.
But guess what? It's because you've not gone to your traditional schools to see. Even in your traditional schools, from I think P1 up to P3, or actually up to P3, you have 1 or 2 teachers in a classroom teaching all the subjects. Yes.
Really?
Yes. You have 1 or 2 teachers in your classroom teaching all the subjects. Then of course there's now these huge schools like Kampala Parents has 6 streams for P1 alone, 6 streams for P2 alone, you know. So those ones have different teachers for different subjects, right? But when that teacher moves from Kampala Parents, which is large, and goes to another school, that teacher will be given all 4 subjects or 6 subjects. Even at the teachers training college, they're trained to teach those subjects because P1 to P3, they actually separate, I think, at P4, you know? So yes, no one can be good at everything. That's the beauty with homeschooling. If you have the right curriculum, it always has a teacher's guide. Teacher being the parent or whoever is teaching the child.
A teacher's guide.
A teacher's guide. So the day before your kid has finished school today at 3 o'clock, you sit down with your teacher's guide and you see the plan for tomorrow. If you have a very good curriculum, it will even give you questions and answers. Like even if you went to school up to P2, you will be able to teach that child. Because you literally have a guide that tells you, tomorrow, your child is going to do this in mathematics. When they reach this point, go and pick 5 leaves and put them here. Then, after that, do like this. In literacy, you're going to get a candle, get a glass, light the candle, you're talking about oxygen or whatever, cover the candle and act shocked. They proper tell you in the guide, act shocked when the candle goes off. You know, even a person who stopped in P3 in school will teach that child because the guide is very clear.
It's clear.
So just be careful what curriculum you get and your abilities, you know. There's so many curriculums out there. Just pick what works for you. The one I was saying about the classical, they don't use videos or audios. They usually use verbal. They don't depend on other, you know. So for the first, I don't know, I think I've never used it, but I think up to grade 4 or 5, they're mainly teaching reading, you know. Then from there, they start teaching thinking. I've heard actually it's very good. So here you're reading and learning through reading, right? Then after that, I think from grade 5, you start to challenge what you've read. Right?
Wow.
Then after, their secondary section is now you get what you're challenging and you prove yourself wrong. It's wow. I've never tried it. There's many methods. There's the Montessori, which is the most common in Uganda. I see in school saying Montessori.
I see everywhere I'm driving. Montessori. I'm like, what is Montessori?
This is just like a maridadi thing.
It's
and
attracting.
then you go there and they're actually... No.
So what is Montessori?
Montessori is basically just a mode of teaching. A Montessori teaching is where they believe that a child should be given the actual tool, not toys. That's what Montessori is all about.
I'm confused a bit.
So you see, when you're teaching your child how to cook, you pull out the toy frying pan, and that you play. Let's wash dishes. Let's play baby. The Montessori teaching is you actually give the child the tools. Montessori means that your school has got to have an actual kitchen, my friend. Actually, Lohana, back in the day when my sister was moved to Lohana, they used to get those P5 book girls and take them to a real kitchen, and they bake, and you pick your kid from school when the kid is full of flour. That's what Montessori should be doing. But here in the Montessori, they just have the most expensive toys in the town. That's not Montessori, you know? So Montessori should not be a word. Montessori is basically you have the actual things. If you're teaching how to bake, the kid should bake. If you're teaching how to wash dishes, the kid should wash dishes. If you're teaching how to drive, hey, my friend. Anyways, that's the Montessori. Another one that I love so much is called the Charlotte. I've forgotten her name. Charlotte Mason.
First of all,
Mason.
I'm overwhelmed with so much
That's
knowledge.
the thing. I'm trying to try that you'll be overwhelmed. At the end of the day, 3 things that you should care about. Otherwise, the options are many. The options are many. What you just need to know is 3 things. Number 1, and most important, should be your child's learning method. How does your child learn?
Okay.
My son is so playful. So playful. So playful. It's on a whole other level. But that was me when I was growing up. So if you want him to sit down there and he starts cramming for you, where do you go?
It won't work.
It won't work. Give him, you're teaching him mathematics, multiplication. At his age, maybe he should only be doing 2-figured digits. My son, you know, he can do like, at his age, because he's 6, he should be doing maybe maximum of 2 figures, like maybe 24 times something. That's the maximum he should be doing at his age. Right now, my son will do even 6 figures. You'll give him 9, 7, 3, 5, what times this. Of course, he didn't get it off head, right? But then he will sit down and it will challenge him. He will play on his carafe paper until he gets for you that answer. Because that's the excitement of this thing, we are getting it, right? So because I know he's very playful, he has to be doing the 2 digits. I'll make them playful. He's learning about clouds. We're going to go outside and we will see. Yesterday he even lied to me, Mommy, do you see that one is stratus? You see it has wings? I'm like, my friend.
Lies.
Lies, Is it? But basically, because he's so playful, you teach him like that. So the most important thing is your child's learning method,
style.
Your child's learning style. And if you say that your child is a serious child, that child will actually learn more from sitting on a textbook and studying. You know, that's the thing. If your child is an outdoor person, you see your child likes climbing. My sister's son loves to climb trees and name it. That's how you're going to study. Because not every day, and that will be exhausting. But then you know that this boy picks. So when you're in class and he's being difficult in class, go outside, climb that avocado tree.
He'll start picking things.
Start telling him, how you tell me? You said what leaf? Show it to me. What leaf is that? You know, that's the thing. So you get to. So know your child's learning style. Your child maybe is not good at it. Then keep attention. They mean that you should leave him to remain unattentive. No. But then just know that your child has a short attention span. Therefore, whatever curriculum you get, don't go and throw the child in in this other method, which is for strictly reading.
They will not get it.
They won't get it. So know your child's style of learning. Number 2, know your teaching style.
Gosh.
Now, if your teaching style doesn't match your child's teaching style, please allow
to
get a teacher. Allow, that's not your niche. Just allow. That's my favorite saying. But then allow, it's not your niche. You either learn his style or you get someone who can manage his style. Because he is key at the end of the day. Don't make him learn how you teach. Which is my challenge with our mainstream education. It's that the child has got to learn the teacher's style. I'm not saying it doesn't work, because people have been doing it for years and they have succeeded. However, if you want faster results, you should teach the child's style. That's why you find that a child in P1 is the smartest and goes to P2 and the kiddo is a doof. And you're like, do what you want. You know? Because maybe the child had adopted to the style of the teacher.
Actually, I remember when I was in P3, I was at a different school, and then they changed us. Meanwhile, in that school, it was like number 2, but I was shining. They took me to this new school. All of a sudden, I was like, I was at last. I was wondering what had happened to me. I was sharp, but I was just. So I get that, like that transition also, you're not yet understanding how these people are studying. Maybe the other school was teaching differently and now things are a bit different.
So number 1, child's learning style is the most important. The second important thing is your teaching style. And if you see that it doesn't match, move on and get someone else, and then you supplement. And before I go to the third, which is the last thing to consider when you're choosing a homeschool curriculum, is that you also have to realize that if your child's learning style and your teaching style are different, there's curriculums which consider that. There's a curriculum called, not a curriculum, but a style called unlearning. It's a unschooling. Unschooling. Unschooling is child-led homeschooling. It doesn't mean that the child is going to teach himself. You're still going to teach that child, but it is child-led. How? The child's interests are what determine what they're going to study. I'll give an example. You have, maybe you said you have, because you of course know how many subjects that you have. So you have literacy, what we call mathematics, language, arts, and science, right? And then say, like my son is so much into out of space. He'll talk about, he'll tell you about the moon and how far it is from the earth and which planet is next to the sun, which one is the coldest, which one is a rocky. Sometimes I'm also like, I have to, because I trained him to believe that his mother knows.
Problem.
He doesn't know that Google
is your friend.
His mother's backup, my best friend. So he has a confidence in me that, that helps me and the teacher. Sometimes the teacher maybe is stuck. So she always goes like, who knows everything? Mommy, let's wait for mommy to come. Now at break time, she will then go back and check what she had forgotten. Then she comes back after break, then she teaches them and she's like, I called mommy. This is the thing. So it helps us. But anyways, Aviel will tell me about out of space. I got to know about the black hole from my son, and I was like,
you didn't watch any movie.
I know, I watched movies, but the boy gave me a different angle of the black hole that I knew just what we generally know, right? He had an in-depth explanation for the black hole, and I'm like, this boy has lied. When I went to Google,
it was true.
It was true. So he's so much into the sense of outer space and planets and da-da-da. Now, if I was doing unschooling, which my dream is one day I will. If I was doing unschooling, guess what that maths topic would have been?
Space.
But
then, I think parents need to research on all these, because I was going to say, then that if you're only figuring out, if you're only teaching what the person is interested in, don't you leave out now other key things?
So that's the thing. You will have, so unschooling also has curriculums. You don't just wake up and say,
okay, I was wondering, what do you think like King today?
I just feel like talking about today. Dogs! Okay, we're going to talk about dogs. No, it has a curriculum. So for example, if your kid decides, and you have to involve them in when you're choosing your plan. So maybe you make a plan for a month and you involve your child. Well, what do you want to study about? Then he's going to tell you. The other day when I was talking to so-and-so, he was talking about weather. I didn't know what that meant. So you put it on your list. What else do you want to talk about? I want to talk about space. He may repeat, like my son, I'm sure I can talk about space
every day.
And he loves mathematics, so he'll make me teach math every day. But of course, you also guide him. It's just child-led. It's not child-supervised. It's not child-taught. It's just child-led. Why it's important is because sometimes a parent's teaching style is from the child's learning style, and so there will be friction, and maybe they can't afford a teacher. So if the child is the one who chose that topic, even if your style is wrong, that child will learn. Wow. If his interest is mathematics, for example, my son, it doesn't matter how you teach him math, upside down on the toilet, he will get it because he loves it. So if you know that you have different styles, try the unschooling. I know it's not so popular, because it's hard work.
It's a lot of, I'm hearing, I'm like, hey, definitely not me.
Yes. But then if your style is different from your child's style, try unschooling. Maybe every month or every year or of course not every year. Depending on your child's age actually. If the child is older, every year can work. But for these younger kids, every month, sit with them. What do you want to study about? If you want to study about space, aeroplanes, I don't know what. Even when you're doing mathematics, your pictures, even painting, should be about aeroplanes.
So, Suzanne, we have had so much information about this school thing. what are those things you want to say maybe to parents out there that are trying to choose school? Just final remarks, about this whole homeschooling, public schooling, final remarks about this subject matter.
Okay, I'll say two things. First and foremost, as a parent, God gave you that child because he knew that you are capable. You and no one else is capable of that child. So whatever you decide to do, be it homeschooling, be it mainstream school, even if you decide to leave that child in just sports and dance, that is your decision. For as long as it's guided by God, it is the right decision. That being said, in relation to homeschool and mainstream school, I always say homeschool gives you 5 days of protection for your children and 2 days of exposure. What do I mean? Your child is at home for 5 days studying, being taught by you or a chosen, selected adult. Your child gets to get the confidence that they can relate with adults. Adults are part of their learning life. And the adult knows your morals, your expectations, and all that. So for 5 days, your child is in the environment that you have chosen, you have selected.
Controlled,
The child is in a controlled environment and is therefore protected. And then weekends, the child is exposed. So the child is exposed to abusive language, pornographic words, drugs, alcohol, name it. The child is exposed for 2 days.
2 days.
It means that you have 5 days to correct whatever went wrong in those 2 days. That's the beauty with homeschool. With public school or mainstream school, unfortunately, the child has 5 days of exposure.
Wow.
And then has 2 days of protection or correction. So whatever they have learned in the 5 days that is immoral, that is obscene, that is drugs or alcohol or whatever evil has crept in the 5 days, you have 2 days to correct.
Only 2.
But like I said, any option of schooling that you choose is the right school. So if you have chosen to go the public way, the public school way, the mainstream way, please remember that your child has 5 days of exposure and you have only 2 days to correct that exposure. So do the best you can. When my kids were going to the mainstream school, I ensured I took them to school every morning and I picked them up, me and my husband. And so on our way to school, we prayed. But then even in funny conversation, did you finish your breakfast? They're going to eat your things at school.
Opportunity.
I'm using that opportunity to instill what I want and to correct. Sharing is important. And then when I pick them up from school, I don't drive the whole way saying, what did you learn in class? Science. What did you learn in science? No. Let the teacher do that because you've chosen the public school anyway. Use that time to instill your morals, your values, your virtues. Use that time because you have limited time for correction. You have only 2 days of correction and that child is exposed for 5 days. So use any opportunity you get. Dedicate your weekends to your children. Use the weekends to teach moral lessons, for example. Things like, sexual education, of course, that is child-based, age appropriate sexual education, because your child is exposed for 5 days. Don't think that because the teacher has been working for 5 days, Saturday and Sundays for you to sleep in and then go to the swimming pool and again throw the child there to again be exposed. No, use these chances to correct. Let us just know that these children are in a stage where they learn and we have to help them unlearn. They learn the wrong, you help them unlearn the wrong. You help them learn what is right and unlearn what is wrong.
Wow.
So the beauty with the homeschool, like I told you, is because then you have a lot more time to correct and to protect and less time of exposure. Whereas the public school has more time of exposure and a very limited time of correction and protection. So utilize any time that you get if you have chosen the public school to correct that. Whereas with the homeschooling, utilize any extra time you get to rectify the socializing effect.
Wow. Thank you so much, Suzanne. I'm so happy that you are here. I know we have learned so much. So, from me and Suzanne, we have to say bye. See you in the next one. My name is Lisa Kusima, and as always, I'm here to inspire.